Hello, welcome to the Eagle 6 video. This is going to be a tutorial for the Tokyo Marui Sub Mod M4 and 416 NGRS series. This is on how to remove the locking ring nut or castle nut that's on the back of the guns, which is obviously tied up tightly, or should be tied up tightly. It's also the reverse it's going to be as well, on how to tighten the ring, and sort of what we consider sort of best practice kind of way of doing it in 2020, because obviously some of our videos are old and maybe this one can replace those, or if we haven't already done it, this will obviously add to our current tutorials that are already out there. So so we'll just sort of quickly show you how to remove it, and the best thing you can sort of do there. It's really good practice, if we're talking best practice, to simply get some heat onto this to try and loosen it up, because sometimes there's an awful lot of if you can hear me properly, also quite a lot of loctite that can sometimes be under these. Sometimes there could be none at all, so just get some heat onto it. Okay, so depending on how hot this thing gets, you can apply a bit of black tape to it, or on your tool, which is NGRS tool here. So any tool that specifically will fit NGRS and the locking ring, you can take a little bit of grease and just pop it on the inside, okay, on here. What we're after doing here is trying to non-mark this. Yeah, some of the guns that come in, they honestly look like somebody's just tried to undo it with their teeth. You know, it's literally just completely all gouged and scratched and whatnot. And it's just, I mean, at the end of the day, it all stems from not having the right tools. So you can see here also how I've actually fixed the gun in position. The reason why we fix it in position and recommend having some kind of a jig setup, you can technically do it by hand, but the main concept is that this is in a straight line, and that this part of the gun is in a straight line. So that way we make sure that the bottom part here of the guide of the stock tube is in a perfect alignment with the grip, and that way you don't get any sort of off-center stocks or anything like that from having done it up by hand. It also allows you to obviously get a bit more purchase on there as well. So obviously you want lefty loosey, so just to undo it. Okay, so if necessary there, you can start gently tapping it. If it doesn't come off after gently tapping, then we suggest getting some more heat on there, okay, in order to crack off any Loctite that's on there. So then we can undo it. And then obviously to demonstrate the reverse, as if, because obviously in theory now you could obviously pull all your wires through and then obviously undo the stock tube, and then obviously remove the stock tube. We're now going to do quickly the reverse of it and just show you quickly how to get it all back together again. So you want some Loctite. I quite like this red stuff. If you're going to be using genuine Loctite stuff, just be careful about how much you put on of the genuine stuff, because it's a lot stronger than what this is. This is I mean, this is still red, and will eventually get quite solid on there. But what you want to do is pop a little bit of red underneath, in this little gap here between the actual stock tube itself and the upper receiver. If you really want to, you can unscrew this stock tube and actually put a little bit on the actual threads, then start to thread it in. The concept is that it is possible to tighten the locking ring so much and then have the stock tube loose, and it'll actually twist on the inside of the actual completely tightened and Loctited up locking ring. So obviously what we're trying to do here is do a combination of the both, have a bit of Loctite in there, have a little bit of Loctite in here. We're going to leave it 24 hours, and the combination of the two is going to culminate with this not coming undone. That would be our ideal situation. So now we're going to put this spacer in, There you go. And now we're left with just the ring part to actually get on there. So we're going to pop again another little drop in there, not huge amounts, because obviously you do need to take this off again for servicing. So, and that's obviously what some people forget when they're putting crazy amounts on in that, or even some people gluing them, that this has to come off. And obviously when there's the requests come in to make this never ever come off again, because obviously sort of at-home users can't think of any possible reason why they might want this locking ring undoing. However, gun techs know that we want to have this, and we don't want it to be difficult to take off, because then we're obviously hammering it and causing all kinds of problems. So so you do have to balance the potential fact that this is going to be serviced yearly with the fact that you obviously don't want this to come loose in a game, or especially if this gun's being posted off remotely. So you can see now how I'm just sort of just doing it up hand tight. Now, if you want to, again, you can pop something like this on here, because remember, it's starting to cool off now. Or again, you can use the grease method, whichever you want. So obviously we've started tightening it up already, so we're now going to pop this on here. Okay, and then we can start to crank it down. So make sure you put your hand under here just to make sure that this spacer is actually properly seated correctly. Obviously what you don't want to be doing is torquing this down while this isn't seated, because obviously then you're only on half the threads and you're going to cause yourself some problems. So and then obviously you can start to leverage with this gun being in this fixed position. You can actually get a lot manually just without even to hit it or hammer it. So at this point, even with the Lalax tool, which isn't the most strongest of tools, at this point you're not actually hammering it or hitting or anything, you're just leveraging it, and the main thing is obviously fixing this gun in position so you can do that. So then what we do is, obviously we've got the Loctite on the inside of the stock tube, we've got the Loctite on the inside of the ring. We've now just hand tightened it up, to a decent torque, and then what we like to do is just tap it a bit further. Okay. So you again hold it in place with your fingers, because obviously you're going to be banging this. You don't want it to slip and then obviously cause a scratch mark or something. Obviously you're just tapping it here. Okay, I'm just lightly tapping, and that's enough. Okay, so there's enough there, if you know what I mean. So to actually set that up. So so there we go. You can see there's no marks on there, which is really good. And then the actual ring is now done up tight. However, if we now go and shoot with this, with the Loctite that isn't set at all, because it's just liquid at the moment, then yeah, it may well undo to the point that, or you might not notice it undoing, so that you've now kind of undone a lot of this, legwork that you've now just done. So what we recommend is putting this away for 24 hours, ideally somewhere that's not, bitterly cold, maybe like a warm room or something, and then obviously that should set and go into like a hard thing. If you've got more time, give it longer, but in theory, depending on the quality of Loctite you use, obviously the decent stuff is pretty good for setting off pretty quick. So it just obviously costs a bit more. Then yeah, you obviously use those. But yeah, that's the way we do it. So so obviously, yes, there's a few tools required. Obviously the wrench, but I suppose any wrench that's got a loop on it and a hangy bit, just something that you can hang on is going to be enough to obviously undo that and tighten it back up again. So in that regard, like the garters and stuff like that, they do one that's sort of that kind of shape. But obviously we always recommend ones that fit on there perfect, just so there's less slippage and less damaging the actual castle nuts. Because remember, this is a cosmetic piece that can be visually seen by the player. So so yeah, so you're obviously going to want it as clean as possible, and that's it really. So we hope that helps you out, and that's and just in case yours has come loose in a game, and that's, like I say, the best case scenario. If you want to do it by hand, you can yeah, you can basically just hold the gun, and sometimes it requires two people basically to try and hold it in line while you get that leverage on there, if you know what I mean, to do that up, because like I say, you've I mean, in setting this all in one place, we can really sort of get exactly right the torque that we're kind of putting on there. So because it's just the same every single time, it's standardized. Obviously, while it's in your hand and the gun's moving and stuff, it's a little bit harder to actually get that leverage on there without the whole gun moving. So it's definitely quite nice having this set up, and like I say, just trying to do it the same every single time, you know, so that way there's consistency there. But like I say, the wait period on the Loctite is ever so important to let that set so that doesn't sort of unwind. And then obviously if it does unwind, just repeat this process. It's not a huge deal to do. It's just obviously there's that issue of having to buy potentially a tool in order to do it. You know, the Latex one's £20. It's not huge, you know, and obviously that's just for that one there. The other one that potentially might come off is the barrel nuts, but again, we'll probably cover that on a per gun basis in other videos. So right, well, thank you very much, and we kept this one short and sweet, and yeah, if you got any questions, put them in there, but we're hoping this is an update video that covers, like I say, the way we're doing it, you know, going forward in currently from 2021. Shit, sorry, I got the wrong date. Okay, cheers, bye.